Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, Israel and Hamas swap first batch of 13 hostages and 39 Palestinian prisoners as part of a 4-day truce deal. 12 Thai abductees also freed. Rescue efforts to bring out 41 trapped workers from a collapsed tunnel in India's Uttarkashi are in the final stages. Pipe laid to roll out the victims on stretchers. China tells the WHO that it has not found any unusual or new bug amid a severe spike in respiratory illnesses in Beijing and northern parts of the country. And Oscar Pistorius to be released from jail on parole in January, a decade after the former Paralympic champion shot his supermodel girlfriend dead, shocking the entire world. A day that began with a 4-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas after 48 days of fighting has also seen the swapping of the first batch of 13 Israeli hostages in exchange for 39 Palestinian prisoners. 12 Thai workers taken by the Hamas during the 7th of October blitz have also been freed. Trucks carrying aid have also moved in from Egypt into Gaza in greater numbers than before during this conflict. There's a sense of relief with this break from the fighting, but dread also lingers. What will happen after 4 days?
Relief writ large on the faces of the 13 Israeli hostages, all women and children, who tasted freedom after being held captive by the Hamas for 48 days. The first of at least 4 batches over 4 days of the truce were flown home under military guard with measures put in place to reduce their suffering and distress, with medical help also at hand if required. The Israeli Air Force kept personal hygiene kits, colorful throw rugs, and even dolls ready to receive the captives at their release point by Egypt, where the Hamas dropped them off. Friday also saw rubble-lined streets of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza bustling with people for the first time since Israel launched its campaign to obliterate Hamas after the 7th of October attacks. Before the people stepped out, after 48 hours of fighting, Israel's armored vehicles rolled out, even as plumes of smoke from the bombs rained down on Gaza hung in the air. Nearly no strikes from either side were reported in the initial hours of the 4-day ceasefire, which began at 7 a.m. local time across Gaza on Friday. The deal is that Hamas will release around a dozen hostages each day in exchange for a truce, and the release of thrice as many Palestinian prisoners and aid trucks being allowed to bring relief to Gazans.
Hopefully everything goes back to normal and Palestinian prisoners will get out of Israeli prisons and all the Israeli hostages with Hamas go back to their families. This is what we wish for, that there be real calm to live safely.
The day also saw displaced Palestinians heading towards Rafah to join thousands of Gazans who fled their homes to escape the battle. Israel's army has warned Palestinians not to return to North Gaza during the temporary ceasefire as it remains in their crosshairs. The inflow of aid trucks from Egypt at Rafah crossing also went up after the temporary ceasefire came into effect. Egyptian authorities have said 130,000 liters of diesel and 4 trucks of gas will be delivered daily to Gaza during the truce, and that 200 trucks of aid would also enter Gaza daily. But both Israel and Hamas have stressed repeatedly that truce is just away from the mayhem, which has left death and misery in its wake, and the world calling for peace. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, the first batch of hostages has been exchanged, but speaking to DD India, Israel's ambassador to India, Naur Gilon has said that Tel Aviv has not agreed to stop the fighting altogether and remains determined to eliminate Hamas.
Is there hope that this 4-day cessation of action that has been announced might hold for a longer time?
I hope not, because we don't want a ceasefire. We want to eliminate Hamas. If we do a ceasefire, Hamas will not be eliminated. If we do a ceasefire, the hostages, the rest of the hostages will not be released. We are determined to go back. We said it very clearly. We are doing now a tactical pause because that was the demand of Hamas to release women and 50 women and children. We are intending of going back and finishing what we promised to finish. And these are two tasks, as I said in the beginning.
And as the swapping of the prisoners began in the wake of the ceasefire, families who have been waiting to meet their loved ones are taken hostage as well amid the ongoing conflict had some pensive moments to live through. Take a look.
Hope returns to these citizens in the conflict-torn zones of Middle East, particularly Israel, as they wait anxiously for the moment when their loved ones will be freed by Hamas.
I am very much for it because there are children, babies, junior high pupils, mothers, elderly ladies, men, sick people. And I really hope that these 50 or 60 or 70 are going to be just the first one. And every week or every 2 days or every hour, they will free them all. These people are innocent. They didn't do any wrong.
The citizens are hopeful that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will have a well-planned strategy in place to get all hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza since October 7 released.
In Hebrew, we have a sentence that each soul you release, it's a whole world. So I think he will release now 50, then he will go in a further attack, and then he will do another deal. And I think the war will not be over until all hostages will be released.
Even in Palestine, families are eagerly waiting, hoping that their loved ones are among the first batch of prisoners.
I didn't sleep till 2 a.m., waiting to hear news about a swap deal, and I sleep with no hope. Yesterday, they called me and said that they have a deal, but I was waiting for the vote in the war cabinet, so I will know that there is a real deal. I hope it will happen and nothing will disrupt it.
Palestinians who were stuck on the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing decided to return to Gaza on Friday, November 24th, amidst the 4-day ceasefire, the first pause in a 48-day-old conflict. With a smile on his face, Jamal Yusuf Atiyah, a Palestinian who was residing in Algeria, carried his bags and crossed into the enclave after waiting 43 days on the borders with Egypt.
People are leaving Gaza and we are returning despite war, and despite everything we are returning because this is our country. It is logical. One only has his country.
These families are praying and waiting for the safe return of the hostages with beginning of truce. They have some hope, but when exactly will they get to meet their loved ones remains to be seen. Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
Let's now take you across live to Tel Aviv. DD India's Sarah Coates is joining us from there. Good evening from Delhi. Sarah, what do we know about the identity and state of the hostages released by the Hamas till now? It's early days yet, but are you hearing anything?
Look, we do know that initially there were 13 hostages slated to be released today, but in fact 25 hostages have been released. Now, in addition to these 13 Israeli women and children that were taken from a mainly kibbutz down in the very south of Israel, it has now been confirmed that 12 Thai workers who were also employed down in the south of Israel doing farm work, They have also been released. They are now inside Israel on their way to hospital. This has been confirmed by the Thai Prime Minister. So look, this was certainly an unexpected twist, but very, very good news for their families also. Now, with regards to these 13 hostages, these women and children, they have now made it out of the Gaza Strip. They are in Egypt and are awaiting transfer into Israel. Now, they're expected to arrive in Israel at around 6 p.m. local time, which is in around half an hour, where 6 hospitals have been set up to cater for their needs. So 5 of those hospitals are very close to where I'm standing here in Tel Aviv, and there have been emergency wards and very special facilities set up to cater for these people. After they arrive at the hospital, they'll then be reunited with their families. So it's certainly set to be a very emotional day, a very emotional evening for these families, given that they've had no news of their loved ones for 49 days, but finally they've been released.
Yes, big day indeed for not just them, but the entire country and the world watching very closely what's happening as well. And tell us now about how the first day of the 4-day ceasefire has also gone by, and has been going by, in fact, and what meaning does it hold to the further release of hostages and the pause to the fighting in Gaza?
Well, look, this deal means that every day that this ceasefire holds, at least 12 of these Israeli captives will be released, while another batch of these 150 Palestinians will also be released. So it certainly is in the interest of both sides to calm these hostilities. As this day has gone on, there haven't been any violations of this ceasefire that have been recorded. So it certainly seems as though it is going off quite well. Now, we do understand that tomorrow there will be another batch of hostages released. Their names have already been given out, although the media isn't privy to these names. We have been told to stay away from their families, give them privacy. So look, it certainly is playing out pretty well. Neither side does want to reignite this conflict, but we have heard from Israel that it is planning after the ceasefire, after the pause in hostilities, whether it goes for 4 days or whether it goes for 10 days, that it is planning to once again relaunch this military operation on the ground. We did hear from the Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant. He spoke out last night saying that after this pause, that the campaign on the ground in the Gaza Strip will resume with intensity. He said it will be at least 2 months of heavy fighting on the ground. So it certainly seems as though Israel's military ambitions are pretty clear.
Okay, so it really means that if the Hamas keeps releasing, even beyond the 4 days, a dozen or so hostages each day, there are about over 250 or 240 of them. They're being held by the Hamas, maybe in different pockets. But if they track them all down, they keep releasing these hostages, the ceasefire could extend much beyond the 4 days that has been agreed right now?
Well, look, we do understand it will extend for a maximum of 10 days. What we do know, according to Hamas, is that there are a number of prisoners, hostages, women and children that do remain inside the Gaza Strip who are unaccounted for. Now, it is understood that other Palestinian factions like Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other smaller Palestinian factions actually have these hostages, with Hamas saying that it does not know where these people are. So this is basically giving Hamas a little bit more time to be able to locate these people. And for every 10 people that it sends back after this 4-day period of this initial deal, it'll then gain an extra day. So look, we did also hear a few days ago from Palestinian Islamic Jihad. It came out to say that it will not release the soldiers. We do need to remember there are a number of Israeli soldiers being held inside the Gaza Strip. They said that if every Palestinian prisoner inside Israel is released, and we're talking here about 7,200 people, then these soldiers that are being held captive in Gaza will be released. So look, there hasn't been much discussion on that as yet. What we've mainly been hearing about is the release of these women and children in this first initial stage, this initial phase of this deal.
And both the sides have completely ruled out any extension beyond the possible 10 days at this stage. Nothing in terms of taking the opportunity, the temporary truce to sort of work upon a long-term solution to this entire problem as such.
Well, look, this is something that certainly the international community is really working very, very hard upon. They're looking at making a more durable truce, apart from this 4-day or 10-day ceasefire. But from what we've heard from Israel, it plans to regroup, rearm and go further and deeper into the Gaza Strip. Well, it is obviously, believed that Hamas would also be doing the same, using this 4-day or potentially 10-day period to also rearm and get set for more heavy fighting. So, of course, the international community will be putting pressure on both Israel and also Hamas to disarm, to disengage from this conflict. But at this stage, it doesn't seem like that will be happening.
Okay, let's only hope that the positive is built upon and we don't see that sort of a descent into chaos and mayhem as we have seen during the last 48 odd days. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Sarah Coates. A Qatar court has accepted plea against death penalty to 8 Indian ex-Navy personnel. The appeal was filed after the Court of First Instance of Qatar passed a judgment on the 26th of last month in the case involving 8 Indian employees of Al Dahra Company, where the verdict of death penalty was awarded to them. On the 7th of this month, the Indian embassy in Doha got another round of consular access where they had met the 8 individuals. And still to come up on DD India News Hour. Rescue efforts to pull out 41 workers trapped in a collapsed tunnel in India's Uttarkashi for nearly 2 weeks now are in the final stages. India's exports to 10 countries have increased significantly over the last 5 years. And China tells the WHO that it has not found any unusual or new bug amid a severe spike in respiratory illnesses in Beijing and northern parts of the country.
This 4-day cessation of action that has been announced might hold for a longer time.
We don't want a ceasefire. We want to eliminate Hamas. If we do a ceasefire, Hamas will not be eliminated. If we do a ceasefire, the hostages, the rest of the hostages will not be released. From Lashkar Taiba or any other organization that is harming our friends, is doing something wrong, financing, whatever it is, we would go against it, regardless if it's in the list or not. Because one should do that, because we should unite. As Prime Minister Modi ji said, we have to, terrorism is global, we have to unite against terrorism.
Welcome back, you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Russia has said it would respond if the military Schengen proposal of NATO becomes a reality. Meanwhile, the Russian and Ukrainian forces both claimed that they repelled each other's attacks in multiple directions and hit the other side's personnel and equipment in the last 24 hours. More in this report.
Russia has warned of tensions rising after NATO desired a Schengen zone in Europe. The zone would allow NATO forces to move around freely. This at a time when both Russia and Ukraine claim to have repulsed each other's attacks.
Europe is abstracting from the important principle of indivisibility of security. They talk about their security to the detriment of ours. I want to say once again, it is NATO that is constantly moving its military infrastructure towards our border. We are not moving towards NATO infrastructure. NATO is moving towards us. And this cannot but cause concern and cannot but lead to retaliatory measures to ensure our own security.
Russia on Friday claimed it shot down 16 Ukrainian drones during the current conflict with Ukraine. These include 3 over the Volgograd region and 13 over the Crimean Peninsula. Ukraine reported 52 combat encounters and claimed to have repulsed Russian attacks in Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Mariinka axes. Hungary believes it is high time for both Russia and Ukraine to hold peace talks. Hungary is against the inclusion of Ukraine into the European Union during wartime.
The European Union should extend peace and should not include war. And we have the feeling that now inclusion of Ukraine would mean inclusion of the war as well. On the other hand, it's absolutely absurd that we should make judgment about forward progress of Ukraine on EU-related matters while the country is at war.
These recent events coincide with Russia's increased attacks on Ukraine.
Back home in India, after more than a week's endeavour to reach the 41 workers trapped in a collapsed tunnel in the northern area of Uttarkashi, the rescue and relief operation has entered its final stage. Just a few meters of drilling is left to reach the workers. A wide enough pipe has been laid down to safely roll out the workers on stretchers.
Massive rescue operation is underway to save the trapped workers in India's Uttarkashi. The operation at the Silkyara tunnel in Uttarkashi city of India had come to a halt following mechanical issues on Thursday night, but the rescue efforts were resumed soon.
When I left you yesterday, the drilling had not started. There was a little bit of a problem, an encumbrance had been encountered. It was a steel pipe जो छत पे लगता है टनल के, that had fallen in the debris, और debris के अंदर मालूम नहीं हो रहा था कि कहाँ-कहाँ इस तरह के अड़पने अड़चन हैं, and progress was then subsequently made to remove this again with the gas cutters.
National Disaster Response Force on Friday conducted a rehearsal of how it would take its wheeled stretchers to rescue the 41 workers trapped inside the tunnel. A passage has been made using 800 mm diameter steel pipes through the rubble at the tunnel to rescue the workers who have been trapped inside.
You have found great cooperation, great sense of commitment the whole night. This is what is proving that this operation, more than anything else, is an all-of-government operation. All-of-government approach is being adopted here. To repeat it again, from the PMO to the Ministry of Home Affairs, to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, to the NDMA, everyone is involved in coordinating and ensuring that by any means we must get these brave men out.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked to Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami and sought information about the ongoing rescue operation.
भारत की सरकार माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी प्रत्येक दिन किस प्रकार से हमारे अंदर जो मजदूर भाई हैं उनको भोजन सामग्री से लेकर अनेकों प्रकार की जो कठिनाइयां उनके सामने आ सकती हैं उन सब के बारे में जानकारी देकर उसके निदान को लेकर और सुरक्षित रूप से उनको बाहर निकाला जाए, रेस्क्यू किस तरह से चल रहा है, उस सारी जानकारियां प्रत्येक दिन लेते हैं और पूरी एजेंसियां भारत सरकार की हों, राज्य सरकार की हों, सब मिलजुल कर इस ऑपरेशन को चला रही हैं.
More than a dozen doctors, including psychiatrists, are deployed at the site, talking to the men and monitoring their health.
The NDRF officials who have been kept on standby, paramedics and ambulances have also been alerted and kept on standby here at Uttarkashi's Silkyara area where the unfortunate incident of tunnel collapse happened. The officials are yet to confirm on the timeline as to when they are likely to pull them out, but it is likely that by tomorrow morning or by tomorrow afternoon there could be some good news from the site here where the 41 workers have been trapped for 13th day. This is Dibyendu Mondal from Uttarkashi with camera person Gaurav Giri for DD India.
Let's now take you across for an immediate latest update live to Dibyendu, right there in Uttarkashi, just keeping track of all the developments as far as rescue work is concerned. Hello Dibyendu, it has been an extended period of darkness for these 41 workers and their loved ones since Diwali, that's the 12th of November. Now, how soon are they likely to emerge from it into light?
Well, Gautam, there is no official confirmation as of yet as to when this operation will conclude. But however, what officials are saying is that they are just about 8 to 10 meters away from reaching to these workers where they are trapped. However, let me also give you a latest update that the auger drilling has which resumed after a prolonged period of halt since last night had resumed in the evening. But however, what we are hearing from officials who are working inside is that the auger machine had again hit a roadblock and it had to be stopped in between about an hour and a half back. But they are hopeful that by tonight they will be able to resume the auger drilling into the debris here at the Silkyara, and after which they could possibly be able to install the 2 last pipes that are expected to bring these 41 workers out. Let me also show you behind me. I'm just standing at a hilltop, and behind me is the exact site where this unfortunate incident had happened. And it is very cold and chilly in the night, but despite that, authorities are on their foot. They are monitoring the situation. They are working round the clock. They are doing every possible best to ensure that these trapped workers are out and sees the light of the day as soon as possible. This is the only hope, perhaps, right now to say, because it is a technical stuff that the officials also say, and it's not in their hand. So they are also trying their best, is what they have been telling us, and they are also putting in their best efforts to bring them out as soon as possible.
Yes, and they've had help from experts all over the country and even abroad. But just tell us, in the eventual situation that these workers are brought out, are all preparations also in place to take care of them once they're out?
Well, of course, elaborate arrangements have been done to ensure that the trapped workers, when they are pulled out, are taken care of. Their health is taken care of. Where we are standing, right about 20 meters away from where they are expected to walk out, or in fact crawl out, they have set up a temporary medical camp with medical experts from the district hospitals and also from Dehradun, who have flown down here at Uttarkashi, who will look after the immediate and do conduct an immediate health checkup of all the 41 workers. Apart from this, there are 41 ambulances which have been kept on standby, and they will, from here on, they will be taken through a green corridor which the police, the Uttarakhand police, will prepare to the district hospital here at Uttarkashi, where there will be given thorough treatment and thoroughly checked for any kind of health issues that they might have encountered inside, and will be treated here at the Uttarkashi district hospital. And if anybody develops any serious condition, they will be airlifted to Rishikesh AIMS, for which a chopper has also been put on standby. So apart from this, let me also tell you that psychosocial counseling by psychologists are being provided to these health workers inside. Warm foods, electricity, water, medicines, clothes, everything is being provided to these workers through the pipeline, the 6-inch diameter pipeline that has been installed a couple of days back. So the government, the authorities here, the government of Uttarakhand is completely prepared to handle the situation when they come out, and have made elaborate arrangements for the well-being and safety of these 41 workers who have been trapped inside for the last 13 days now.
That's amazing, Devendra. You mentioned food, water, other provisions. You even mentioned clothes. So am I to understand, just to double check, they're getting warm clothes as well, because you mentioned yourself that it's quite chilly through the day as well, and especially at night.
Well, of course, they are being provided warm clothes. Their family members are also here who have brought clothes for them, and these clothes are being provided to them through the pipeline, that has been inserted here. So the authorities are ensuring, and in fact, let me also tell you, they are being given warm foods, which includes dal, roti, dalia, chapati, etc., for 2 times a day, which is for lunch and for dinner. So they are being taken care of very well by the authorities, is what we are being told. Of course, electricity is there, and the electricity line that was already there hasn't snapped because of the debris falling. So they are not in total darkness, if I may say so. They have these basic necessities that are required for living inside.
All right, but let's hope that be that as it may, they manage to still come out as soon as possible. A lot of effort being put in, a lot of best minds also at its work, but then this is nature's doing, and nature sometimes does really put you to task, doesn't it? Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Dibendra Mondal. Now, India's exports to 10 countries have increased significantly over the last 5 years. The PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry has said that these countries are emerging as major export destinations for India. These export hubs are Netherlands, Brazil, Israel, Indonesia, Turkey, Australia, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Togo and Belgium. Business opportunities have increased simultaneously with these countries as well. The Indian government has taken several measures to boost exports. Measures like comprehensive trade agreements, reduction in cost of capital, power sector and other reforms are likely to take India's goods and services exports to $2 trillion by 2030. Marine products, iron ore, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, cotton, aluminium and tankers are products with immense potential. They contribute about $222 billion, about 50% of the country's total exports. Sri Lanka's central bank has reduced its key policy rates by 100 basis points on Friday to boost growth as the country struggles to emerge from its worst financial crisis in decades. The CBSL has forecast Sri Lanka's economy will shrink 2% this year after a 7.8% contraction in 2022 when it went into a tailspin because of a severe foreign exchange shortage. The World Bank, however, has predicted a 3.8% contraction in 2023. And still to come on DD India News are the 28th conference of the parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP28, is set to kick off from the 30th of this month till the 12th of December in the UAE. South African Paralympic star Pistorius has been granted parole a decade after murdering his supermodel girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. And at IFFI Goa, winners of the 48-hour filmmaking challenge of 75 Creative Minds of Tomorrow initiated announced Team Grey emerges as the best in filmmaking challenge.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Israel and Hamas swap first batch of 25 hostages and 39 Palestinian prisoners as part of a 4-day truce deal. These include 12 Thai abductees who've been also freed by Hamas. Rescue efforts to bring out the 41 trapped workers from a collapsed tunnel in India's Uttarkashi are in the final stages. A pipe has been laid to roll out the victims on stretchers. And Oscar Pistorius is to be released from jail on parole in January, a decade after the former Paralympic champion shot his supermodel girlfriend dead, shocking the entire world. And we're taking we're taking you back now to our top story, which is about the hostage swap deal that Israel and Hamas have put into force. They've carried out the first batch of the swaps, which includes 13 hostages, children and women, who've been handed over by Hamas to Israel, in fact to the Red Cross in Egypt, and in exchange prisoners, 39 or 40 of them have been released by Israelis as well. These are Palestinian prisoners, and the deal is for 4 days. That's the truce that's been worked out. So there's no fighting that's going on in Gaza. And to talk about what can we expect further, we have Major General Dhruvsi Katoch with us. He's a well-known strategic expert, Director, India Foundation as well. Good evening to you. General Katoch, what can you tell us in terms of how you see this process going forward, and how it's been worked out that at least the first exchange, the first batch of exchange has been successful?
Thank you, Gautam. In my view, I think, you see, this is a small step, but it is a very important step to kickstart the process. Now, overall, as far as Israel is concerned, as per reports, 50 Israeli hostages will be released. And as of now, just a small number has been returned. But I presume over the next 3 days, all the hostages which have been, not all of them who are in captivity, but 50 of them from the who are under the captivity of Hamas, they will be released. Now, two things are going to come out of this. Once the release starts, to the government of Israel, all the people who have not yet been released, there is going to be a great deal of pressure from the public onto the government. That is one. Number two, what impact is this going to have on the ceasefire? Now, while there will be pressure imposed by all by the citizens of Israel to get all the hostages released, I do not visualize a stoppage of the conflict as of now. The Israeli premier has made it very clear, Mr. Netanyahu, that operations will continue till Hamas is destroyed. Now, destroying Hamas is going to be a very long and tedious process. I don't think it's going to happen, but they will be degraded to a very large extent. How much time that degradation will take place, we will have to wait and watch. But I believe hostilities will continue after this 4 days window is over. Gautam.
Yes, because it's being said that it could be extended beyond the 4 days to a maximum of 10 days. And now that's what we've been hearing. But 10 days, if a dozen odd hostages are released, that still makes up only 120 to 130. Whereas what we've learned is that about 241, at least 241 people are being held hostage in Gaza, either by the Hamas or other factions who are against Israel. And this does not include foreigners. American hostages, 12 Thai hostages have been released today. So it does give some sort of a breathing space for this process to go on and truce to be there in Gaza. But at the end of the day, it will still be back to the fighting as of now.
No, you put it across very well. You see, the possibility of the ceasefire extending from 4 days to 10 days, that is certainly there, and it may happen. But for anybody to expect that this is going to lead to a lasting peace, the ground situation doesn't look that way. You see, I think what has happened after the 7th October attack, Israel has been put in a very vulnerable situation. For the first time, they have found they can be attacked and prisoners taken in the manner which had happened, despite the fact that they had a wall, what they call the Iron Curtain, which was impregnable. But as history teaches us, no wall is impregnable. There is always a method to breach it. It simply requires detailed planning and top secrecy, which the Hamas actually managed to do. So when we're looking at the overall context, I do not visualize a peace treaty or something to come about, but an extension from 4 days to 10 days is absolutely on the cards. I think India will support it. And Indian efforts will be there to really go in for a lasting peace. But the way the ground situation is, I think hostilities will resume sooner rather than later.
Now, this deal has been worked out because of a lot of intermediaries, different nations. The US has been involved right from the start. There's Egypt in the mix, of course, as a neighbor, and there's Qatar too, and other countries also been working on ensuring that some sort of peace is brought about and it sustains. Now, since Israel has said that it wants to obliterate, completely destroy Hamas, should at least the international community be asking Israel as to what does it actually mean when it says destroy Hamas? Destroying Hamas could mean killing or capturing its leadership, or it could mean complete annihilation of all its cadres. What does it really mean?
There are two things. Firstly, let us get this aspect straight about annihilation. The Hamas network has been promising to annihilate Israel.
Yes.
They said that Israel has got no place here. And from the Jordan Sea right up to the ocean, that territory is theirs. So they want to annihilate Israel, kill every Israeli to the last person. Iran has supported that. And these statements have come from the Iranian political leadership that we will destroy Israel. Now, as far as Israel is concerned, when they say they want the destruction of Hamas, I think we need to differentiate it from the destruction of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are not Hamas. Hamas is simply a terrorist organization which at the moment is ruling the Palestinian people. So I think the Israeli aims will be achieved if they can dismantle a large part of the infrastructure, the tunnel infrastructure which has been constructed by Hamas which has been constructed by Hamas in the Gaza Strip, as also eliminate a major portion of the leadership. So with these two twin aims, because the aim is not really to get territory, holding on to territory of this nature requires tremendous force, and it will be a long-term commitment which Israel will be circumspect about doing.
But does that become clear in terms of how Israel has been conducting its operation through these 48 days that the fighting was on before 7 a.m. local time today, that Israel just wants to dismantle the Hamas infrastructure and a large part of its cadre so that its ability to fight is completely lost? Is that coming across, or do you get a sense that Israel is seeking something more, something different?
No, I don't think Israel is at this point of time seeking something more. I think if they can degrade the Hamas infrastructure to an extent by which there will be peace, at least no firing coming from that side for the next decade or so, I think their aim would have been achieved, because they will not allow the tunnels to be built again. And once you eliminate the leadership, it takes a lot of time to really rebuild it. That is one. Number two, as far as holding on to the populated areas is concerned, and the Gaza Strip is a very densely populated area, the amount of resources which are required are humongous, tremendous. So I don't think Israel will really like to go into that. Just to give you a small example, when we're talking about the 65 and 71 India-Pak wars, some people said, why don't you go to the Indian Armed Forces? Why don't you go and take Lahore? Taking Lahore is not the problem. Holding on to Lahore is the problem. How do you hold on to a big city like that? The problems are totally beyond imagination. So Israel understands that. It is a small country. I don't think they want to take over the physical land completely for a long period of time of the Gaza Strip. But they certainly want to destroy the infrastructure there. And I think their aim will be towards that end. It may take us some time to achieve.
And General Khatoj, what about the fact that a lot of the Hamas leadership is also abroad and is under some sort of protection in those territories as well, wherever they are?
Well, they were under one of the leaders was under the protection of the government of Dubai, and he was eliminated about 4 or 5 days back. So these operations by intelligence agencies, especially by Mossad, will continue. I think there is no Hamas leader who can sleep peacefully at night, regardless of where he is living. They know the Israeli resolve, and they know that Israel, if not today or tomorrow, within a year or 2 years or 10 years, they will get them. So they are living in constant fear of their lives. And to that extent, I think a part of what Israel intended to achieve has already been done. So in my view, what Prime Minister Netanyahu ultimately does, he'll be answerable to the people of Israel. But in my view, if you achieve these two major objectives, you eliminate the leadership of Hamas and you destroy their war waging potential. If that is done, then they've achieved victory. Okay. I don't see any reason why they should go further than that.
Right, and it remains to be seen whether at this stage the people of Israel will seek any change in terms of the leadership of the country, although that has been questioned very, very strongly in the past few days as well. But that is again a question that still awaits an answer. Thanks for joining us and talking about the situation that is prevailing in that part of the world, General Katoch.
Thank you.
Now, the World Health Organization has said that China had shared data about a recent surge in respiratory illnesses in children, one day after the agency said it was seeking information about the possibility of undiagnosed pneumonia cases there. According to a WHO statement on Thursday, the Chinese data indicated no detection of any unusual or novel pathogens, which means nothing unusual or no new bugs. DD India's Andrew Wood reports from Hong Kong.
World Health Organization, it asked for information because there were these reports, sometimes unconfirmed, of an increase in apparent clusters of child pneumonia, and also because the Chinese authorities themselves have said there'd been a rise in respiratory illnesses. So China apparently provided the information, test results and so on to the WHO within the 24-hour period, and the WHO seems to be satisfied with that. Remember, these are the highest levels that China has said for 3 years, and don't forget that that means we've had the highest levels since the end of the pandemic measures towards the late last year when they were lifted. So in a way, it's to be expected there would be a rise in respiratory illnesses, because all of those strict rules and regulations and measures that China put in place to control the spread of COVID also controlled the spread of things like flu and other sort of respiratory illnesses. So the conclusion seems to be that the rise in respiratory illnesses was to be expected because you've had the end of the COVID restrictions, and we're in the and in November, October, November, that's when the start of the flu and the cold season starts. The government has not given anything, well, not that much information publicly. The warning was sounded by an organisation known as ProMed, which is a worldwide network for monitoring unusual diseases or even known diseases, but something that may not be captured immediately by official statistics. And ProMed also raised the alarm too in the earlier days of the COVID pandemic. And don't forget, both China, the Chinese government, and the WHO are under a lot of scrutiny. They had a lot of criticism in the early days, especially of the pandemic, that they were very slow in giving information out about the spread of COVID.
Let's now get you some updates from around India. Events related to Vikas Bharati Sankalp Yatra were held in the Panchayat areas of Bicholim and Mayam constituencies in Goa on Friday. The Viksit Bharat Rural Rath was welcomed by Mayam MLA Premendra Sheth, along with ZP member Mahesh Sawant, Sarpanch Datta Prasad Kharkhande and other officials at Karapur Sarvan Panchayat. A health camp was also organized by the Health Department for beneficiaries. MLA A study conducted by the Neurological Department of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences has found that epilepsy can be controlled by yoga. In an experiment on 160 patients who were divided equally in two groups, one of which did yoga and the others who did not, it was discovered that those who did yoga had a considerable amount of relief from their symptoms. This study bears good news for about 13 lakh epilepsy patients in the country. The Indian state of Rajasthan is all set for assembly elections on the 25th of November. The main battle is between the Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party. The desert state has a history of not repeating the government for past many years. More than 100,000 police persons have been deployed for holding free and fair elections.
The Rajasthan police has a tradition of conducting peaceful polls, and we hope that all the officers and men on the ground, and because they have been working very hard for last many weeks, they have been taking rounds, they have been taking all the confidence building measures also. So we have been exhorting people to come out in large numbers and exercise their franchise, and we expect that we will have a very peaceful polling tomorrow. And at the same time, we are keeping everybody of us is on toes, and we are keeping we are taking all the precautions. We are leaving nothing behind, so that we are not taking things for granted. So everybody is taking all the precautions, all the steps which we can take. Even the night vigil is also on for last 2 days. Especially, we have been focusing on seizing the freebies or other kind of malpractices.
The India-EU Trade and Technology Council meeting was held on Friday. During the virtual meeting, the co-chairs reviewed the progress achieved in the working groups, discussed the future action plans, and provided strategic guidance on digital connectivity, clean and green energy, and trade and investment. The session also stressed on taking the collaboration through research and innovation to the next phase of implementation in terms of practical outcomes. The 28th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, that's COP28, is all set to kick off from the 30th of this month to the 12th of next month in the United Arab Emirates. The COP28 agenda outlines a comprehensive framework encompassing diverse themes and initiatives aimed at catalyzing global action to combat climate change. South Africa's former Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius, jailed in 2014 for killing his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp, has been granted parole effectively from the 5th of January next year. The Department of Correctional Services announced that Pistorius will complete the remainder of the sentence in the system of community corrections and will be subjected to supervision in compliance with parole conditions until his sentence expires. Rapid Action Battalion, that's the RAB of Bangladesh, has arrested a top-listed drug peddler with 2 kilograms of heroin close to the Indian border in Rajshahi district. In the past 6 months, Bangladeshi law enforcement agencies have seized drugs on more than 10 occasions closer to the Indian border in Rajshahi district. The Rajshahi district of Bangladesh shares a river border with the Indian state of West Bengal near Murshidabad. The 54th International Film Festival of India, one of Asia's most prestigious film festivals, continues to enchant all those who are visiting it on its 5th day. The festival has attracted film enthusiasts, professionals, and film goers from all over the world. Here's a report.
The winners of the 48-hour filmmaking challenge of 75 Creative Minds of Tomorrow initiative at the International Film Festival of India were announced. Team Grey emerged as the best in filmmaking challenge. 75 CMOT participants were divided into 5 teams who made short films on the topic Mission Life in 48 hours.
All come together in this 48 hours. I think that's also and I feel something to learn. I mean, how to collaborate with each other and just to make a film in 48 hours.
All 5 teams, people they never met, people they did from all over India. Some of them don't even speak the same languages, but they're all in a team, and that was really the greatest, most exciting part.
We've done it, and I thank the entire team for it. Everyone's worked very hard. Everyone believed in the script. Everyone believed in the story, because it has a genuine heart to it. And I think if we can portray such stories later in the future, where more people can see it, I think that's the way to go.
During the film festival, the CMOT participants also attended workshops and masterclass sessions curated by the masters of world cinema. The day witnessed screening of mid-fest film as the 54th IFFI touched its halfway mark. About Dry Crosses, a captivating Turkish cinematic masterpiece directed by Nuri, was screened as the mid-fest film. The film, known for its enthralling storyline and exceptional performances, has garnered international acclaim with its latest occult despite being the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival 2023. Acclaimed actor Manoj Vajpayee also made his presence felt at the film festival. His two projects, Gulmohar and Sirf Ek Banda Kafi Hai, are screened.
Your film is being screened here at IFFI. You were here at IFFI last year as well. How do you see this platform and your film being screened here? How big is that?
Any kind of a festival where films are coming from all over the world, and the great creative minds representing their own industry, coming here with their films, with their art. So it becomes a festival. It's actually a mela, film mela, and this is more than you showing the film, your film achieving something. It's always great to mingle and exchange.
Premiere of several highly anticipated films from across the globe, a wide range of films including world cinema, documentaries and regional films was screened throughout the day. The cast and crew of Film Sana, including director Sudhanshu Saria, actor Radhika Madan, Pooja Bhatt and Nikhil Khurana, addressed the press today. Day 5 of the 54th International Film Festival of India continued to showcase the best of world cinema while providing an avenue for industry professionals and film enthusiasts to interact and share their passion for the films.
With galaxy of activities happening at the 54th edition of International Film Festival of India, Day 5 comes to an end. We now have 75 fresh young minds who will now be putting Indian story in front of the entire world. With this, we also have several other screenings in different sections and a diverse selection of movies. Shama Mishra, DD India, Goa.
And still to come on DD India News are 7 times world champion Lewis Hamilton denies talks with Red Bull.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Gautam Roy, and time now to get you all the sporting updates. Well, 7 times world champion Lewis Hamilton has denied Red Bull Formula One boss Christian Horner's claim that a representative of Lewis approached him about a drive before the Briton signed a new contract with Mercedes. Horner said there had been several conversations over the years about Hamilton joining the team, which are the current dominant ones with triple world champion Max Verstappen. Hamilton said that nobody from his management had spoken to Horner. He said Horner had messaged him on an old phone he'd left at home. And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as they break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.